Hey, there we go. We're live. And let's start a podcast, shall we?
We shall.
Thank you for joining us on a Thursday evening, and welcome to Caching in the Northwest. You know, this is the only podcast from the birthplace of geocaching in the Great Pacific Northwest. Each week, we're going to talk about cachers and caches from around the globe. So while you're busy dodging the Christmas aisles in the big box stores, we'll be caching in the Northwest. And of course, we can't do that until we bring in our road tripping Tamarin. Some say he's so tall, he must take the high road. And others say next to Willy Wonka, he's the sweetest guy they know. All we know is he's called Land Monkey.
Hey, yes, it is. Boy, I am getting so much podcast fun tonight.
Isn't it fun to do multiple podcasts in an evening?
It is. And I didn't realize that. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, I was guest hosting earlier this evening on Geo Gearheads, which is normally Chris's gig, but tonight I was not the Chris, and I was hanging out with Daryl, which was a lot of fun. But I didn't know when I signed up that I was also doing a patron special. So I've just gotten home from work and been podcasting all night. It's
welcome to my world. Yeah. So you've done 3 podcasts in a night.
This is my 3rd tonight. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all. It's a lot of fun. But you know, I want to address the thing that isn't an elephant in the room. I want to make sure that we also introduce JP, who's joined us here all the way from tomorrow morning. JP, yes. Welcome to the show.
Morning, guys.
So where are you joining us from?
So we're over here in Estonia, in northeastern Europe, and just below Finland. And the sun isn't quite up yet. So, but I've had my coffee, so we're all good.
Our sun is not quite up yet either.
Yeah.
But it's just recently gone down. So
my son's up. He's just next door.
Oh, okay. I'm sure my son is actually too.
Yeah, unfortunately mine is as well. So if you hear something from the other room, it's probably him getting ready for school or not getting ready for school, either way.
Awesome. Well, JP, thank you for joining us. We're looking forward to having a fun show with you. And we also want to send out a quick reminder that we appreciate the support of our patrons who help to keep this podcast coming each and every week. And folks, if you want to know more about supporting this show, make sure you head on over to the cachingNW.com website and click on that Patreon link. And before I go any further, I want to just make a special shout out to worldcaching.com, who has been a patron of ours for quite some time, and just want to thank them for their support and the prizes that they've donated over the past years. That's helped to be a real support to our podcast. So thank you very much to World Caching for your support.
And, you know, just to add to that, I got to see Tracy this weekend and Professor K, her husband.
Yes.
And they are fantastic people. It was just a lot of fun to catch up. I hadn't seen them in quite some time.
There you go.
Now, something else fantastic we like to talk about is the glow, or you may know it better as the geocaching log of the week. Whether you wrote it or whether you read it, we want to hear about it, because great logs simply make geocaching better. Send email to feedback@cachingnw.com. I got a couple this week. Thank you so much. Keep them coming. We need more glows. Or call into 253-693-TFTC. Better yet, use that voicemail tool right there on the website and tell us how you glow. Now, this week, we have a special guest to come on and read the glow, because there's nothing like a glow in your own voice.
That is true. And this glow will be in my own voice. Now, I want to be clear. I did not submit this. I believe it was submitted by Bounce Bounce.
It was.
So thank you very much, Bounce Bounce. And the glow is from one of Bounce Bounce's amazing geocaches. It's the Holiday TB Hotel. That's GC5 Delta Hotel Papa Quebec. And thank you. I'm getting better at it.
You know, it's amazing. There's still a few letters I stumble over, but yeah.
Awesome. So this glow reads, found by the land monkeys at 12:38 p.m. on 2017-09-29. This is a highly memorable geocaching experience with some serious hard work and maintenance that has gone into this cache. Certainly worthy of every favorite point it has been and will continue to earn. We had heard about this cache and the CO's work, so this was on the radar to visit when we came down one dark and stormy day in Auburn. Mrs. Monkey spotted the hard to miss cache, but then it was to work to figure out how to check in. Weary travelers as we were, we just wanted to get in and find a room for our TBs that were with us. So the first step was quickly sorted out by the monkeys, and the TBs were able to get to shelter. But wait, there's more. Laugh out loud. Well, I put LOL, but you know what I mean. Thank you.
Oh,
appreciate
it.
It
wasn't a command, was it? So,
well, most things I tell you are, so I think that's just fair to go in that direction. All right. Hey, so it took a few moments of trying options until we had the logbook in hand, stamped, replaced, took a few photos, and packed everything back up for the next travelers. We dropped 2 TBs and picked 2 up. A highly enjoyable caching experience. Thanks for an amazing stop. Thanks for the cash bounce. It was day 1 of our hashtag geocache road trip to Auburn for the 2017 geocaching adventure. We drove down and found a number of the 2016 series caches, as well as some fantastic high fave point caches in the area before heading to the evening event and night cache. Cache find 3 of 23 today. Cache safely and cache often. The land monkeys.
See how much more enjoyable that is with the inflection in the monkey's voice as he reads it. I would have read it, it was cache find 3 of 23 today. Cache safely and cache often, the land monkeys. You see, reading it in your own voice, it's so much better. Trust me.
It is. Hey, I heard we have some news.
We have news. We have new news because old news is no good anymore.
It's not really news anymore.
That's right. Dune Buddy sent us an email about the 10 stunning Earth cache finds from around the world that he found in the geocaching blog. Are you getting ready for International Earth Cache Days 2018? I put the S in there. It wasn't in there normally, but hey, there's 2 days now.
We'll keep working on Rock Chalk. I mean, the fact of the matter is we have the 2 days, so now it's just a grammatical thing.
Yeah. Log any Earth cache Saturday, October 13th, or Sunday, October 14th. That's 2 days, folks. Doesn't matter where in the world you are. You could be on this side of the date line or on the other. You still get 2 days. And you can earn the Earth Cache Day 2018 digital souvenir. Earth caches bring you to unique locations and teach fantastic or fascinating geological lessons about planet Earth. Now, these 10 Earth caches are from Portugal, the UK, Austria, Greece, South Africa, Thailand, Australia, Vanuatu, Niue, and Canada. Now, Dune Buddy points out, did you notice that on the list of 10 stunning Earth caches from around the world, the score is Canada 1, USA 0? Dune Buddy wants to know, who did Land Monkey pay off?
All right. So the fact of the matter is I didn't have to pay off anybody because the score speaks for itself. And
sounds like a hockey score. 1-0.
Canada 1, US nothing. Well, yeah, it depends on the teams, I suppose, and the year. Because that's one that can go both ways, men's team and women's team. But anyways, yeah, and I guess the only other thing I wanted to say is you're welcome for 2 days of Earth caching.
Hey, Land Monkey, do you know why the Baptists don't like hockey?
No, why?
Because after 30 minutes, they haven't gotten to 3 points yet. Okay. Oh, sorry about that.
Nice.
It's
All
true
right.
about soccer as well, but we're not going there.
All right. All right. Well, you know what? Tonight, one thing we are doing is we're going to spend some time with JP. So we have John Paul of JP's Geo Designs joining us, as he mentioned earlier, all the way from beautiful Estonia. And JP, we want to thank you for making the time to join us from all the way across the other side of the globe.
It's my pleasure. And it gives me something to do while I wait for my son to get up for school. So all good.
Oh, well, then we'll have you more often while you're just waiting.
Yeah, well, it has to be certain days, but yeah, we can do that. Either that or I'll just bring my pillow here,
Nothing wrong with that either. I tend to fall asleep towards the end of the podcast because I'm old.
We'll make sure we yell at you later to wake you up.
And you yell at me all the time. Now, JP, will you tell us a bit more about yourself? Now, this is your very first appearance on our show, and we are truly honored. But how long have you been involved in our hobby, sport, addiction that is known as geocaching?
Well, I discovered geocaching purely by accident, like many people have done. I was visiting my parents. They live in Cyprus, and I think it was 2011, somewhere in the beginning of the year. And somebody had made just a basic comment on Facebook about geocaching, and I kind of thought, oh, what's that? And Googled it. And when at that time, it was a lot easier on the GC website to just punch in a name of a place, and it would give you what was in the area. And they live halfway up a mountain somewhere, so I kind of thought, yeah, well, this is a bit of fun. We'll find a zero finds on this one, and just happened to be 300 meters from where I was sitting. I thought, yeah, that can't be right. So, with no GPS, didn't even know what one was at the time. I kind of grabbed Google satellite maps and thought, well, yeah, I know where it's supposed to be. And it was an urban area, so it's easier to track down than if you're out in the woods somewhere. And I thought, well, I'll go and look. Surprise, surprise, there was actually a box hidden under a pile of rocks there. And I will say this, if I had not found anything that day, I think it would have been, yeah, okay, that was fun. Not going back to it, because there was nothing there. But because there actually was something physical, it was piqued my interest. And I think I found another 9 or 10 before I left, from holiday. Came back here Estonia. And I thought, well, I'll check the map and see if there's anything close to where I live. And they were all over the place. And I thought, okay, well, I can do this. So yeah, it just went on from there, really. Then I kind of introduced my wife to it, and she's not really into that kind of thing, but she does like going out for walks. And I thought, well, we can, I kind of dragged her out, and it turned out she knew the answer to one of the puzzle caches in the area from local knowledge. And so we went and found that one. And after that, I think she had us out until about 1 a.m. because she wanted to find the next one. I think we ended up finding about 11 or 12 of them that day. So, I think it was that and the combination of just seeing different places that obviously in an area I had no idea about, just kept us going.
That's cool. That sounds like a lot of fun. So obviously you guys were into it right off the start.
Absolutely.
That's brilliant. So I have had the absolute pleasure of meeting both you and your wife earlier this past summer on the Land Sharks Baltic cruise that we went on. And we met up with you guys in Tallinn, Estonia, which is, as we've already shared, where you guys are at. Now, the astute amongst us may have picked up that your accent isn't very Estonian. So we're kind of curious where home is.
Yeah, I saw Everett's comment about that. Yeah, no, I'm English by birth. That's where I was born. But my parents moved me across to Cyprus when I was young, along with my brother, and that's where I grew up. But it wasn't until I met my wife back in 2003 that I even knew where Estonia was. And we moved here beginning of 2008. When the recession hit globally and Cyprus got really bad. So work dried up and we thought, well, we'll come, my wife wanted to come back home for a bit. And so we came here and been here now 10 years.
Nice. Now, in the beginning, we introduced you as the owner of JP Geo Designs.
Yeah.
Is that really true, or did you just make that up?
No, well, yeah, I did make it up.
Okay.
No, it's one of these silly situations. By trade, I'm a antique furniture restorer, but it's what I trained in. But I went to college as a graphic designer. I never used it. When I started my company here for the antique restoration, work was good to start with, but again, same kind of situation. There was work but no money. And I found that I ended up working way too many hours for very little. And at that time, I was geocaching on a regular basis. I got into geocoins because I was lucky enough to find an unactivated coin in the second cache I ever found. And of course, I was looking into what they were, and I was there quite heavily in the geocaching.com geocoin forum before everything moved to Facebook. And I thought, well, I can design things, and I ended up designing for a company in America. I think it was Cash Addicts, which I think was taken over by Cash Advance, if I remember correctly.
That's exactly right.
And they would do, I was doing that. I did about 3 or 4 for them. And at the same time, I was doing the very first Estonian geocoin for my, on my own. And it got to a point where I was actually doing more with the graphics than I was with the antiques. And so one year, I was just coming up to Christmas, and I said to my wife, and I said, well, look, if I don't get any more new jobs during January, February, which is our down period anyway, with the antiques, but I do get more work with the coins, then I'm just going to keep going with the coins. And and that's what happened. I ended up shutting down my workshop and going full time into the design work. And that's brought us to now.
That's fantastic, actually.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I'm sorry, I got thrown off. I was hearing an echo for a second, but I think it's cleared up. Okay, the Googles were messing with my head. All right. Okay, I'm back. All right, JP, we heard that GeocoinFest EU just wrapped up. So switching gears a little bit, because we're talking about geocoins, we're talking about JP's geo designs, and clearly you in the EU are one of the leading coin designers and coin guys there. So obviously,
so telling me.
His head is getting bigger. It's not going to fit in the camera soon.
That's the way we want it. Then he can't leave.
Okay.
So yeah, so you're obviously, we figure you must have some involvement in GeocoinFest EU, and I happen to notice a poster behind your head. But the event just wrapped up for 2018, and we're kind of curious, is that similar to the event we're about to have here in North America?
Yeah, well, the original ones were obviously in the US, started by Everywhere, and he then brought it to Europe with the help of a geocacher by the name of Guido Beckers in Germany, Long Tom Silver, and they then carried it on here in Europe. Now, the difference between what you have in the US and what we have here is that where in the US it's in a different state each year, we have it mostly in a different country. It has been multiple times in Germany due to the fact that it is the Germans are a lot more geocoin crazy than some other countries. Although that's starting to change now.
In front of that, when you're talking about the Germans, I think you didn't need to say geocoin in front of that sentence.
Yeah.
It's just more crazy.
Yeah, I have to be a bit careful what I say, because I have a lot of clients from there. So
I have a lot of family there, so.
But yeah, it is a similar event, focusing on geocoins and a lot of geocoin vendors and such. I will like to point out that for any Americans that want to see what a European GeocoinFest is like, they should, because they're a lot bigger. And this is nothing against the US GeocoinFest, because it's just the fact that the US GeocoinFest draws the geocoin hardcore collectors more than the average geocacher, whereas in Europe, whether megas generally draw a crowd, whether it's GeocoinFest or not. So with the GeocoinFest, I think there's only been 2 in the history of the European GeocoinFest where it's gone lower than 1,000 attendees.
Wow,
that's quite impressive.
So yeah, they're big events. And as you said, yes, I am something to do with it. My co-host is known as Scotty Duck. He owns Geocacheland in the UK, and he was contacted. They started doing. He started on the ball rolling on attempting to do the GeocoinFest. He then contacted me and said, right, you're on this with me. I said, on what? He said, oh, we're doing GeocoinFest in the UK. I'm like, well, you realize that I'm like several thousand kilometers away. He goes, yeah, but I know the UK, you know coins, so we're all good. I was like, all right, I guess I'm doing this.
As long as there's a good delineation of roles, you're fine.
Absolutely.
Well, so you may know that GeocoinFest USA is going to be in my backyard this year, our backyard right here in the Northwest, which is fantastic. In fact, we have Avro here in the chat. So Avro, thank you so much for all the work that you've put into that. But JP, GeocoinFest EU just wrapped up. Is that similar to the event that's going to be here in America? No,
that's the question I just asked.
How about some big news about GeocoinFest EU 2019? Do you have any of that to share?
Well, we are still in the planning stages for a lot of things. We will be announcing more and more as we go. But I think, well, okay, I've got 2 things that that I'm allowed to say. Okay, number one is we've just had it so that we've just been confirmed that Signal will be attending.
Nice.
So that's cool. And although this is still in the planning negotiation stage, but we are in the process of trying to get the welcome event located at a very well-known and working brewery in Manchester. So as they say, beer and geocaching go well together. So, what better place to start a weekend than in a brewery?
I can't find a criticism with that. No, yeah.
Absolutely. So although that hasn't been confirmed yet, it is still in the planning stage. But fingers crossed, that's where we'll go.
Nice. That's awesome. Hey, in our chat, MC3 Cats asks you, JP, do you envision GeocoinFest EU going giga?
The funny thing is, we've just had the exact same question come up in our committee meeting last night. And I'll answer exactly the same as I answered there. It's not something that's even thought about at the moment. It's something we've got to keep in the back of our minds, because who knows, anything is possible. But at the same time, there's no point in even planning for it at this stage. The venue we have is big enough to be able to accommodate a lot more people. Currently, the actual venue room, because it's all inside, or at least that part of it is all inside. The actual venue room can take safely 1,600 people at one time.
Wow.
So, and from my experience with megas and gigas, you don't get everybody at one time in one place anyway. So, there shouldn't be any problem accommodating more and more people. But yeah, it's something that's in the back of our minds. And hey, I'd love to be able to say, hey, not only do we put on the first, GeocoinFest in the UK, but we also got the first Giga in the UK. But, let's keep it real. At the moment, we have. Let me do a check. I haven't seen it this morning. We currently have. I think it was when I went to bed. It was 181 will attends, or up to 185 will attends on the listing, which isn't bad considering it only went live less than a day and a half ago.
Wow, that's awesome.
Wow.
But you know, I think at this point it's a case of we would love it to happen, but we're not counting on it. We're going to put on a great event regardless of what it becomes.
So JP, in the chat, our friends Land Sharks they've asked a question. I'm not sure what the question's in reference to. Maybe you'll get it.
Marble Arch or Heineken?
Yeah.
Well, Heineken is not a UK beer anyway.
Right.
So put that one out. Marble Arch, to be honest, I don't know which brewery it is myself because I'm not dealing with that side of it.
They're asking about the brewery. I got that Heineken's an imported beer, but I didn't understand that Marble Arch was a brewery. Okay.
But yeah, no, I couldn't answer that because I actually don't know.
There you go. And so Avro Air asked a question that I think will segue well into the next question that Chris has for you. But the question from Avro Air is, why should anybody in America consider going over to GeocoinFest in the EU?
Because so I've got my wife whispering to me and trying to give me answers. So, well, for number one, it's a very different event to what you have in the US, and where I think it's just a different way of looking at things, because we look at trying to put on, I don't know, because the GeocoinFest generally has been a bigger event traditionally over here with a lot more people. We do have to think about putting on a lot more side events, a lot more activities for not only the coiners but also their families, the kids that come, possible non-coiners that, you know, even non-cashers that have no idea what, you know, what coins and caching is all about or don't want to know. So, you know, we will be addressing that to make sure that everybody is happy. But then, you know, Manchester City, if you look at, we're dead set right in the center of Manchester. And all the way around it is, you know, you've got the architecture, you've got the old town areas. You know, it is a beautiful city, and it's something that, well, to start with, it's the first one in the UK as well. So it's going to draw a large crowd from the locals.
I guess there'll be less of a language barrier as well.
And also, there's not the language barrier, so you don't have to worry about learning German or French or Belgium or Dutch. So, you know, that does make things easier. Also, it's a lot easier. It's very easy to get into Manchester from the US because there are direct flights in and out of Manchester International Airport. The public transport system is top notch there. The venue, because it's the Manchester Central Exhibition Hall, it's actually the old Victorian train station, which has been converted into a hall. So it's a massive building, and the tram lines and stops actually are directly outside. The hotel that we're trying to get, you know, to be our host hotel, as well as a number of others, are all within spitting distance of the front door, along with you know, restaurants and other attractions and parks and everything else. So it is, you know, nicely combined. You know, I wouldn't say confined, but it's a nice area, easy to get to. You know, and something that I think people are really going to enjoy, you know, coming to see.
Nice.
Nice. Well, as an American, I have to say there is a language barrier between speaking U.S. English and the Queen's English, but it's pretty minimal.
Yeah, well, it's the usual thing. We can understand you guys. You guys sometimes can't understand us, but you
exactly.
know.
And I don't know where the boot in the bonnet is on the car. Don't even ask. Okay. So, did you mention when GeocoinFest EU 2019 is going to be?
I don't think so yet. So it's on the 7th of September, 2019. That's the main day, which will be the Saturday. Obviously, the welcome event is planned for the Friday evening. We'll have, probably some kind of farewell event on the Sunday, or a Cito, or whatever we can come up with. There is very possibly going to be other satellite events that will happen during the week leading up to the weekend, simply because people are not going to fly in for all that way just for a single couple of days event. So
Right.
we obviously have to have things put on for the people that are hanging around for a bit longer.
For an event like that, it's always worthwhile to plan an entire week.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Or two. Or three. No, that might be excessive. At least a week.
So JP, when we're talking about, the possibility of traveling, whether you're traveling from elsewhere in the EU, or whether you're coming from North America or Asia, or wherever you're coming from, if you're heading in there, obviously there's the events to go and enjoy those events. But for cachers who aren't familiar with this area, the Manchester area, are there any really special must-find caches that somebody should try and get when they're there?
Yeah, there are a few, and I'm just trying to find where I put them, because I had already had this somebody put up for us these. But what I would suggest is I have a list of top 10 caches.
So what kind of favorite point ranking are we talking about here? The dozens, 50?
I think what we've done is we've put together a top 10 list.
Okay.
Which are a mixture of fun things, favorite points, and things that are just slightly different.
Okay.
And that's every. So I'm looking at the list now. So we've got some earth caches there. We've got a couple of multis, and obviously the traditionals. We will expand on the list generally, so that people will have something to go and find. But I'll just post the link into the chat there, and then anybody wants it. So this is a bookmark for. Will it go in?
Oh, it probably will bounce because you're not an administrator for the chat, but that's okay. If you put it in the show notes, we'll copy it in there.
Right, and so that's the top 10 put together by our one of our committee that who lives in the area. So, but yeah, we will expand on that. Plus, it looks a little bit bare in the area where we are at the moment, because recently there were some caches that got archived and cleared away. So we will be putting out a lot more in time for the event.
Very nice.
People can keep up with us on the Facebook page, which is GeocoinFest Europe. And also we have a website, which at the moment only has a landing page, but will go up fully very soon, which is GCF19.eu.
There you go. Very nice. Okay, GCF19.eu. Awesome. So another question for you, sir, and switching gears a little bit, and we've talked a lot about GeocoinFest EU this past year, and a lot about what's coming in September for the 2019 event. It's very exciting. But maybe people have not, like I have had the pleasure of meeting you, and they'd like to, have a chance to bump into you. I heard a little rumor that you might be coming to the Northwest. So what's up with that?
Yeah, I will be heading over to Seattle for GeocoinFest this year. And in fact, I leave home on Tuesday next week, and I'll be hitting the tarmac in Seattle on Friday morning. So from Friday morning until Monday midday, I believe, I'll be somewhere in and around Seattle and HQ and wherever else I find myself. So anybody that wants to have a chat with me, if it's specifically about work, about having a geocoin designed, or to be honest, any design work, whether it's caching related or not, maybe shoot me a message through Facebook or an email or something, just to say, hey, I'd like to catch up with you about this, and I can we can actually make a slot so people know where we're going to be, or where I'm going to be at a time. I will be doing a talk about coin design and such with Christian Mackey. Alvarez just put it in 11 to 11:40. So we'll be doing a seminar on coin design, the two of us. So hopefully we'll get people to come in and listen to us. But if people want to have a chat with us, we will leave time afterwards for people just to come along and ask some questions, or sit down and have a chat with us at the same time.
Very cool.
Nice. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so the options are connect with you on Facebook, JP's Geo Designs.
Yep.
Come to the presentation at 11.
Yeah.
On Sunday, to see you and Chris Mackey and have that conversation. And I would note that you guys wrap up at 11:40. There'll be some time to talk to you guys. And then folks can head over to the Caching in the Northwest booth for our draw that we'll have at noon. So that'll work out really well. What a great day people can have.
Sounds like
I think it's going to be fun.
And of course, JP, you're welcome to hang out at the booth anytime you want during the day.
Oh, definitely. I'll make a point of coming and seeing you guys.
Awesome.
Nice. Now, okay, so you're coming in, well, almost a week early for this GeocoinFest, because that's the thing to do.
Well, actually, no, I was trying to keep my flights down cost-wise, so I'm actually flying into the US on the Friday morning and leaving on the Monday afternoon. So I'm only there for about 4 days. I fly out from here because I have to go via London, but there's not so many flights out from here to where I need to get to. So I'm spending a couple of days in London. My brother lives there, so I'll go and knock on his door and say, hey, I'm staying for a couple of nights.
Yeah. What else are you going to see in the Northwest while you're here besides GeocoinFest 2018?
So I'm sharing a rental car with Christian Mackey, and he's already said, well, you've got to do the 8 cache.
Oh, yeah.
So we said, okay, we'll do that. That's no problem. HQ I'll be at for sure. I mean, that'd be silly not to. But he's got some crazy idea that he wants that we're going to do the original stash as well on the same day.
You can do that.
Which, yes, it's doable. I think we have to get up about 4 a.m.
Right.
So yeah, there is a possibility that we will do on the Saturday. From our hotel down to the stash, then up to the 8 cache. I think there's is there a side event connected to that, or a restaurant or diner that everyone goes to?
On Friday, there's an event at the Triple X Root Beer.
That's the one. So there's a possibility I'll be there.
Okay.
But other than that, I really don't know. I'm kind of utilizing Christian as tour guide for this trip, as he knows the area, and
there's nothing wrong with that.
So somebody's put a clock 7:04 on them in the AM. Well, bear in mind that for me, it will be mid-morning, so I'd be awake anyway.
Yes, that was Monkey Cakes, and IHAM and Monkey Cakes and I just drove down this weekend to Cash Dash Splash, and yes, we found that there's a 4 o'clock also in the morning. Now, what sick person decided to put a 4 o'clock in the morning? I thought they were only in the afternoon.
Yeah, well, no, unfortunately, due to the travel that I've done, 4 a.m. is quite well known to me. So, especially when coming to America, anyway.
Okay, so JP, we have another question from the chat. This one comes from Keepers of the Cash Flow. Do you have a coin project that you have regrets having done, or perhaps the least favorite of your work?
not regretted having done it, but regretted not being in control of what happened once the design left my hands. This happened very early on when I think I only designed about 4 or 5 coins at that point, and I was hired to design the first Nordic Reviewers coin. It was a fun project and quite easy to work with, but at that time I didn't have anything. I didn't know that I had to connect with keep in contact with the mint and the producers and everything else to make sure that what I'd given them was what came back. So at that point, it was like, okay, here's the design, giving it to the person who hired me, and thank you very much, bye-bye. I had planned, because it was Nordic and there was some nice Norse designs on there and everything else. It was supposed to be a black nickel and antique bronze two-tone. They had decided, in their ultimate wisdom at the mint, that they weren't doing two-tone, and they turned the section that was supposed to be antique bronze into, I can't really say it on air, a chicken yellow.
Okay.
And every time I see that coin, and it does come up, people still come to me and go, "Oh, you designed this. Do you have any left, or know where I can get them?" I'm sitting there going, "Yeah, you really don't want one of those. Please don't bring one of those up." And every time occasionally they get people post photos of this thing on Facebook, and it shows up on my feed, and I'm like, "Nah, I just can't get rid of this." It was, yeah. So that was one of the downsides. Same as the glow. It had glow on it, and it was the first time I was using glow. And they put glow in 2 sections that were wrong, and it just, and as I said, I hadn't seen the mint art and I hadn't seen any samples, so I wasn't going to be able to spot it and say, "Hey, that's not supposed to be there." And it happens, and I try and keep abreast of any changes to my artwork that comes back from the mint, and so far so good. It's been okay, but you do get the occasional foobarrs that you have to kind of quickly scramble and get corrected before any clients see. But on the whole, I think that's really the only one that I sit there and think I wish I hadn't done it. Not that I wish I hadn't done it. I wish I'd had more control over how it was done.
There you go.
Well, and as a designer, you really know what it's supposed to look like, but it may not have turned out that way.
Yeah, this is why I when I design nowadays, my contract will state that I will I have to have I have to have the mint art sent to me when they send it from the factory. I have, so I can approve it, and I want to see samples, even if it's just a photograph of the samples, then so that something I can see, so I can spot any mistakes. 9 times out of 10 that works.
There you go. Great answers. Great question. Thank you, Keepers of the Cash Flow. And we're gonna start wrapping things up. JP, I wanted to also pass on a message from the Land Sharks. They said to make sure to get in touch with Sky Sharks in York. They carry the Land Sharks coins over there in the UK.
Yeah, they're on our list of suppliers and vendors that we're going to talk to. So yeah, their name is definitely on the list. I know that for a fact because I saw it yesterday.
There you go.
Well, that makes me wonder if there's a I lost it. Land sharks, sky sharks, water sharks, and fire sharks.
Well, it's open to some subsidiaries, I'm sure.
Okay.
It's enterprising people in various countries to get hold of land sharks for that.
There you go. Absolutely. So Before we close out on this part of the show, JP, if people wanted to find out more, now we've mentioned JP's Geo Designs, where on the wide internets would you direct people if they want to find out more?
They can head over to my website, which is jpsgeodesigns.com. I also have my small web shop there with various different bits and pieces, both coins and general caching related, and we ship all over the world. I'll be, as I said, we'll be at GeocoinFest in a week's time, and we'll be able to people will be able to tap me on the shoulder and have a chat, and that's what I'm there for. Don't be afraid to come and have a chat, because that, like I said, that I'm there to enjoy myself, but I'm also there for business as well. So if people want to have a chat and just talk, then that's not a problem. Don't feel that you're going to disturb my day, because you won't be.
Brilliant. All right. That's awesome. Thank you very much. And for those who are in the chat, Chris in the Northwest just posted the website URL, jpsgeodesigns.com. So again, if you're on the road listening to this podcast downloaded, try not to swerve and drive into the back of anybody else while you're scratching madly on your steering wheel with your chalk to write that URL down. It'll be available for you all.
Because we all carry chalk in our car.
Well, how else would you write on the steering wheel?
That's true. I was thinking of Sharpie on the windshield.
That seems a little more reasonable.
Yeah.
But the chalk.
The only thing I'd like to add is that at CoinFest, there's going to be a couple of exclusive coins. One is the fundraiser for GeocoinFest EU, which is it's a 3D steampunk bee on a cog and honeycomb. People, I'm sure, see it or can see it online on Facebook. It's all over. The other thing is that I will be launching a Christmas coin. Sounds crazy, but people every year, I get to this time of the year and people are like, "Hey, have you got Christmas ready?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's for like 3 months away." But people actually do want to buy out ahead, ready for Christmas. So that my exclusive for Christmas is going to be there, and there may be a new T5 coin if it arrives in time. So fingers crossed.
Very cool. So that's all product that you will have at GeocoinFest in Seattle.
Absolutely. I'll bring a few other bits and pieces from my past stuff as well. But yeah, those things definitely, as long as I have them in hand in time, they will be there.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, JP, thank you so much again for joining us tonight. We've had a great chat. We've learned a lot about GeocoinFest EU 2019. We've learned a lot about the differences between the GeocoinFests in North America and the EU. I'm very excited about going to my first GeocoinFest coming up in just a couple of weeks, down just outside of Seattle in Issaquah. And looking forward to seeing you, sir, there, as well as many of our listeners. So it's going to be a great time. JP, I invite you to stay around for our special after show we're going to have this week. We've got a different guest coming in for the after show. More to be found out shortly. We really appreciate coming on to the show tonight to share all of this great information. So thank you very much.
That's my pleasure. It was fun.
Well, thank you all for tuning in, and we hoped you enjoyed this episode of Caching in the Northwest, but we also hope it just whets your appetite for the next one. Now, next week, that's September 27th, we're going to do show 270. Wow. That's like a 3/4 turn.
Mm-hmm.
Ready for cache maintenance with the Land Sharks. October 4th is Where I Go with MC3 Cats.
Very awesome. And of course, we couldn't put on these podcasts without the support of our supporters. Yeah, well, that makes sense. That was very redundant, but it's true. We want to thank, first of all, our faithful Denali level supporters, Bounce, Land Sharks, Limax, Team Squirrel, and WorldCaching.com. And folks, if you want to know more about supporting this show, please click that Patreon link on the cachingandw.com website, and you could be added to this amazing list of awesome people, which I will now take a deep breath and then read out. Broncos fan for life, Sprouter, Camp Clan, Tick Magnet, Kev Mac D, Subway Mark, Dormore, Dune Buddy, Kid Vegas 19, Geo Nav Bros, Wino, Seattle, Ackerdoc, Billy Robson, Nyes, Antaeus, Keats 94, Curiosity Girl, Trexer 0, MC3 Cats, Kennel Barb, and our newest sponsor, Land Sharks. Thank you very much.
Ooh, you worked that one hard to get all those in.
I'm at capacity now.
So, Land Monkey.
Yes, sir.
As soon as blood returns to your brain with fresh oxygen, where can our listeners find you on the interwebs should they want to stalk you in the intervening weeks?
There you go. Well, I'm really going to encourage people to go over to YouTube and check out our Land Monkey channel on YouTube, LANMONKEY. I know Brian Lang loves it when I say that. But check that out. We have been posting episodes in our season 1, our Baltic adventure. And I've gotten a lot of real positive feedback. So, go check those out. Let me know what you think. I really enjoy putting those together. There's a new one out every 2 weeks. So it's a lot of fun.
Well, I'll tell you, they are fabulous. I really like the style that you've chosen for those. It's very much like travel video. I mean, it's entirely worth it, guys. You need to go watch Land Monkey's Geocaching Adventures.
Thank you very much, sir.
Adventure Geocaching, or Cache Adventures, or go to LANMONKEY.
There you go. Awesome. And of course, just always follow us: Twitter, Instagram, Periscope. We're at Land Monkey GC, and we're on Facebook as Team Land Monkey. Any of those places, you'll get updates almost daily from us. Chris of the Northwest, sir, where do people find you?
Well, you can find me right here each and every week on Caching in the Northwest. You can also find me on Twitter at CachingNW and Facebook.com/CachingNW. Better yet, head on over to CachingNW.com/hosts, read our bios, and find all the links that we just mentioned and a few secret ones that we don't tell anybody about.
Awesome. And of course, we want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode of Caching in the Northwest. Remember that you can be a part of the show by calling 253-693-TFTC, leaving us a comment, asking a question, or helping us carry our wives any time of the day or night. And of course, you can email us at feedback@cashingnw.com. Also, your support helps to keep quality shows coming. So if you liked this show, please click that Patreon link on the cashingnw.com website and subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and more. The show is produced by Chris Infinar and Jay Kennedy, hosted by Chris J. and Jim Paulitz. The show is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Copy all right, 2018 by Chris Infinar. And now, of course, we always encourage you to stay tuned for the after show. Oh, that was nice.
Did you hear the echo, or was it just me?
It was my good buddy Jim speaking to us from wherever he is.
He's fair tonight. Fair to Midland, some might say, but he's at our local fair.
There you go.
I'm trying to think who the guest is. I think he might be a comedian tonight.
In the after show? I don't know. Well, I'm gonna go over here and I'll be back in a moment. I'll see if I can find him.
Okay. Off you go. Now, JP.
Yeah.
At the end of every show, I toss in a little funny bit, you could be part of the show. And we said, help us carry our wives. Can you explain why I would toss in carry our wives?
Well, I personally don't understand it myself, but here in Estonia, they have a traditional almost obstacle course through it's a course that's usually very muddy, where it is called a wife carrying competition. So whether they're actually carrying their official wives or not, I don't know. Maybe they look for people that are definitely not within a weight ratio. But it's actually a competition over here where they a male will carry a female around this obstacle course in various different ways that they can hold them, whether it's over their shoulder, on their back, on their front, upside down, diagonally, whatever. It's the most unusual thing. Anybody listening should look it up on YouTube, because it's hilarious to watch. But they take it really seriously here.
I bet they do. I bet they do. Oh, so very nice. Now, Keepers of the Cash Flow asked, again, JP, this is to you. Has it been a process to find a mint you prefer to work with, or have you always worked with the same one?
No, I think at the beginning it was hard, but I'll be honest. Different mints are able to do different things. So there might be a mint that's extremely good at 3D work, but they're no good at two-tone enamels or two-tone metals. There'll be another one that's great at 2D work but can't do two-tone. There may be, you know, so it's a case of having to, you know, I've spent time over the years being able to, we've tried many different mints over the years, and it's a case of, well, I know this one does really good 3D work. This one does really good, you know, two-tone on 2D work or whatever. So, you know, I use different mints depending on the coin that I'm producing.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense.
But from a personal point of view, I don't work with the mints directly. I use other people for that because I did it once and decided never again. The Chinese are a very insular, you know, individual people to work with, and there's also the language barrier as well. There was a coin that I was doing, I think it was for the Finnish Mega about 5 or 6 years ago, and it was an extremely simple coin, but they kept messing it up. And during the course, I was dealing with the mint that time, and through the course of about just under a month, I either answered or sent over 300 emails, trying to make things easier for them to understand, to go backwards and forwards about this design. And it got to a point where if I was going to continue with this, I'd never have time to design anything. Mm-hmm. So I made the decision that I would not handle the production side. I'll babysit a project. That's not a problem. But I will always utilize, other people, whether it's been Geocacheland in the UK or GeoCoins by Wellner up in Sweden, Direct Mint I've used a couple of times. So I'm not afraid to go and utilize other companies to get the best possible result. But it does, if you're not careful, you do end up, falling into the trap of trying to mess around with the mints to a degree. If you're not knowledgeable of how it should be, or you don't have or you're not known by them, quite often they can turn around and say, no, we're not going to do that. Mm-hmm. When, damn well they can. Right. So yeah, it is difficult occasionally, especially when you come up with something that either hasn't been done before or is a little bit more difficult than the run-of-the-mill coins. I mean, I remember a few years ago when I designed the welcome event coin for GeocoinFests Nebraska, and this was the first time that a coin had hinges in the center of a coin, and they turned around and said, no, it can't be done. And we're like, of course it can, don't be silly. I had no, because those ones are not a problem, because you've got the hinges on the edge where it's easy for them to insert a pin without having to worry about anything, scratching anything or anything, things like that. So between myself and Christian Mackey, we worked on that part of it together, because we had to work out the proper 3D design element to be able to send to them and say, look, this is how you can do it, and it can be done. And in the end, it was done with two small a 3D. It looked 2D, but it was actually a 3D coin because it needed small indentations, round, perfect indentations in the center of the coin, and then two minute pieces of pipe, basically. And then the barn door had the hinge sections, which were put onto the pipes beforehand, and then it was glued in. And so, we knew how it could be done, but they are the ones that had to be able to follow our designs to get it right. And I think it took us almost 6 weeks to get them to agree to do it. So yeah, we do like to push the boundaries occasionally when we have time to do it. They don't like us for it, but it means that the next time we want it done, we can say, yeah, we want it done like that. So it does allow them to push the boundaries a little bit. But yeah, some mints can do that and some won't. Some will just flatly turn around and say, no, we're not doing it. So that's that. Yeah. To answer the question, I use multiple mints and multiple companies to help produce it. But from a personal point of view, I won't touch it, that side of it myself, apart from giving them instructions.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
One thing I would like to point out is that, and a lot of people don't actually realize it, is that the design work itself takes time. You know, just because you can draw doesn't mean to say that it comes in 5 minutes. Some designs I can sketch out and it's finished, you know, in a few hours. Other times I could be sat working on it for a week and it's still not right. So it's, you know, there's a lot of time and effort that goes into it. And one thing that has come up is, oh, you're charging. We don't charge a lot comparatively with most graphic designers, but people will bulk a little bit at the price. And I always tell people, make sure that you have your budget and you realize that this is going to be an investment before you go into it. And they say, oh, well, why are we paying so much for, you know, a couple of days of your time? And you kind of think, well, you're not paying for the couple of days. You're paying for the 20 odd years it's taken for me to get to doing it in a couple of days. You know, so yeah, that's the coin. That's the one.
And that barn door does open. I can't quite get the image of that to load.
All right, yeah, but that's the one that opens nicely, and yeah, it is a lot of fun coming up with new ideas. There you go, you can see it. But sun's now coming up.
So there is a tomorrow. Oh, good.
There is a tomorrow. It has happened.
I feel so much better knowing that. Now, who do we have at the Land Monkey microphones?
All right. So here's the deal. Earlier this week, Land Monkey got a hold of me and said, hey, geocache guy, you haven't put a video out for a long time. And I said, yeah, I'm busy. Buzz off. And then he nagged me. And so finally I said, fine, what do you want? He said, I want you to come on the podcast. I said, I don't like podcasts. He said, well, it's more like a video podcast. I said, how much are you going to pay me to do this? He said, I'll pay you twice what I get paid. So I said, great. So that sounded like a good deal. And then I found out what he gets paid. So got to say, I'm kind of here under duress, but to the point that there hasn't been a Dear Geocache Guy video out for a little bit. I'm here to answer some questions, and we'll take it from there.
Oddly enough, we have a question from Bryling who just left because, well, you've taken too long to get here.
Yeah.
So, Dear Geocache Guy, what's your thought on nanos and cedar bushes?
Yeah. Okay. So Bryling's baiting me. All right. So if you're going to put out a geocache, probably the best possible thing you can do is get the smallest possible container and put it in the most stupid place. Therefore, I would highly encourage nanos and cedar bushes, or if you're going to do that, try junipers, or maybe any kind of really thorny tree. You'll get lots of favorite points, and then we can have a freaking archive party.
Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense to me.
All right.
What's your favorite size?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, and magnetics work really well in trees. So great idea.
Yeah, especially if you put a screw or
put a big nail
in there.
Tree. Yeah, drive a big nail through the tree first, and then put the magnetic on it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was going to ask what your favorite size geocache is, but I think I just figured that out.
My favorite size geocache is the size I can find.
And what size is that typically?
Yeah. Not a nano.
Not a nano. Okay. Gotcha. What do you think of mystery caches?
Okay. Mystery caches. Oh, bloody hell. All right. So I get this question a lot, and there's actually, I've started working on putting a video together because I'm getting sick and tired of getting asked this question. So the question I get asked is, I can't find the cache at the blue question mark on the map. And so when I finish slapping the person, the answer is that, first I'll read the bloody thing. So mystery caches are intended to be placed for a very specific reason. It's to show everybody else in the world you're smarter than them. They're not intended to actually be figured out or found. So if you can find one, good for you.
Yeah, well, okay, that makes a lot of sense. I do need to do a quick PSA that Dear Geocache Guy's opinion does not reflect the opinions of Caching in the Northwest. So with that being said,
Yeah.
Do you prefer to sign the log or stamp a log?
Well, that's a great question, Chris. I prefer to get my name on the log. So usually the best way to do that is to get somebody else to find it for me, and then sign my name. Usually I'll just wait for them at the trailhead, but I promise to have a cold beer.
For you or for them?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you can't find that geocache, maybe
they can't find it for me.
If they can't find it for you, it's a difficult hide, or perhaps even worse, it's muggled. What do you think is the appropriate action to take? Do you log a DNF or do you do a throwdown?
Needs archive. That's the answer. That's always the answer. Needs archive.
Okay. Well, there you have it. Okay. I don't think we can take any more Dear Geocache Guy tonight. I think that's enough. If you want to find out more, head on, just Google Dear Geocache Guy. He's got a couple of videos out there, and I hear more on the way. And I'm sorry that there are more on the way.
Sorry, did you say moron?
Moron way.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, and we're done with this. You're just too hard of an interview. Hey, folks, until next week, get out. Ignore Dear Geocache Guy and go caching in the Northwest.